When I began the practice of criminal law more than 22 years ago, the experience of being a criminal defense lawyer was substantially different than it is today. And the reason that I am highlighting this topic today is I want to talk from an appellate lawyer's perspective about discovery. Discovery now means something very, very specific in New York criminal practice. Back in the day, a defense lawyer would generally get little to no information about the prosecution's case until a couple of weeks before trial, and sometimes even the day before trial, under some case law known as Brady and Rosario. And very often the pretrial materials would be shared with the defense in a huge pile like this in the last pretrial conference, sometimes days before the beginning of jury selection and a criminal jury trial. So this put the defense at an enormous disadvantage. Flash forward to today, and we have something called Article 245 of the Criminal Procedure Law, which pretty much mandates the district attorney in most cases to share their entire file with the defense well in advance of trial. Now, what do I specifically mean by that as an appeal lawyer? Well, just to give you an example, I'm looking at a case in which the defendant was arrested. I'm doing the appeal. The defendant was arrested in or about November of 2022. And looks like about 2 weeks after his arrest, the prosecution shared a package of digital materials, including surveillance video from the location of the incident, booking room video, hours in length, body-worn camera video filmed by the officer. Now, some of this existed 22 years ago, but the body-worn camera did not even exist back then. And it has just provided an avalanche of information for the defense, some helpful and very often, frankly, quite prejudicial to a defense interpretation of a criminal case. We also generally get 911 calls in audio. We get search warrant photos and search warrants that may have been filed to a judge. We see all that right up at the get-go. Moving forward, this particular case also involved DNA evidence, and that required multiple additional discovery packages shared with the defense. So technically, as an appeal lawyer, I sit in the same position as the trial lawyer who handled this case from inception, and I get to see everything that they received at the time that they received this. Now, another important implication of discovery reform under Article 245 of the New York Criminal Procedure Law is for something called speedy trial, because a prosecutor must certify that a case is ready for trial and must do so within very set specific timeframes as defined by that criminal procedure law, particularly something called 3030. Now, due to discovery, if the prosecutor hasn't shared everything that they can share, acting in good faith, by the time that they're required to do a certificate of compliance and show that they're ready for trial under 3030, their prosecution may be in danger of dismissal, and the defense may get the case dismissed. Now, as an appeal lawyer, I'm always looking for those kinds of issues to see whether the defense was given material late before trial, and assuming that an issue like that was preserved for appeal purposes, if an appeal can be successful simply based on violations of discovery law. So as you see from this quick overview, there's just been an enormous change to the practice of criminal law since I got started in 2004. And it's an exciting, dynamic experience to be a defense lawyer. It also requires the prosecution and the defense to cooperate and act in good faith, which is something I did not always see as a defense lawyer back in the day. I'm sure that more seasoned practitioners, although I consider myself rather seasoned and experienced, might have even more extreme examples of the changes in criminal defense law. But as an appeal lawyer, I could tell you that it matters, it counts, it's great, it's very helpful, and I'm invested in it, as I believe most lawyers are today in 2026. That's a little overview on an interesting area of appellate legal practice, and thank you very much for stopping by. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons so you can come back and enjoy more content from Carl Berman. Thank you again.